fourth grade school teacher's father was a mayor. That was Mayor Blair. That's a number of years ago. Bankruptcy of a city like this doesn't happen all at once. It takes a long time. It started in the political crony days of the Holcomb and Penman years. It took nearly 30 years to reach the critical point that we were at when Pat Morris became mayor, and after him, Kerry Davis. Under their leadership, we were able to stabilize our city management and head our city in the right direction. We were on the right track, but I'm afraid that we might be getting off the track with my 14th mayor. He's sitting at the table this morning. I smell another Penman scheme. I think we're on the way back to political cronyism, and I hope that the new council members on the board have their eyes and their ears open and know what they're getting in for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Charette. Luis Ojeda, welcome.
Good morning, everybody. I was a little bit puzzled when I heard about the news. And last time when I spoke in the last council meeting, I talked about unity and tried to do good for the community. And personally, I understand as a businessman that for you to do your job, we all have our own way of doing it. Doesn't mean that one is better or worse. It's just we're different. The last mayor, he was more relaxed, laid back. He needed his team. He had his team. Mr. Mayor, you have another approach to do business. That's understandable. But one thing that I'm concerned is that sometimes the last council was very prone to get into litigations or lawsuits. Okay, so the last time, 2-3 weeks, meetings, I don't remember. The city attorney warned the last council about one of the towing company might have a lawsuit against the city, and the council voted just to move forward, even though the attorney for the company warned the council. The city attorney did the same thing, and nobody cares about it. Nobody cares about it because the council's not going to pay for it, the mayor's not going to pay for it, the taxpayers are going to pay for it. So my only concern today is that if we're going to go that route, that's fine. But as long as we don't pay for it, I'm all for it. Because all of you only going to serve for 4 years, okay? And once you guys are gone and move on, we're going to still have to pay for the bill. So it's something that I'm very concerned about and something that all of you guys need to think about, okay? Because this is remind me when I used to live in Mexico that you had the one administration building a hospital, the other administration didn't want a hospital there, so you know what, we're going to tear it down and we're going to build a park there. Well, that's fine, but what about the money that we already invested in? And what about the money that we need to build something else? So let's try to see if we can work with what we have, and if we deem that it's not appropriate, it's not working for the city or for the residents, then we look for other options, not before we do that. So I'm going to just warn all of the council members and the mayor that spend the money wisely. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker is Deanie Gallagher. Is Gallagher?
It's okay.
Gallagher.
I'm used to it.
Silent G, huh? Welcome.
Mayor and council, I'm smart enough to know that when elections happen, change happens. It happens with each election. There may be change in policy, there may be change in procedure, and change even in personnel. But I was literally shocked at last Wednesday's council meeting when Councilwoman Ibarra, as to how you arrived at the decision to ask for a closed session to review the city manager's contract even before you had time to figure out how to work your microphone. As a person that appears to have zero experience in municipal government, one would expect that you would have at least put a few miles under your belt before you made such a significant request. Mr. Sanchez, you told us, Councilman Sanchez, I'm sorry, you told us that at the last council meeting that we shouldn't prejudge what your intent was in calling for a closed session. But borrowing a phrase from my grandmother, we didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday. Translated, it means we are not that naive or stupid to fall for that explanation as to why a closed session was requested. You, as a council, may stand ready to chop down the best tree in the forest that is capable of providing you with the best shade from the scorching heat of the summers that will come. We live in economic uncertainty, and I'm not referring just to our city, but what happens in our state, what happens in our country affects us in San Bernardino. Our city manager has the skills and the strength to know how to run lean and still produce results, and I would far rather see I know that accomplishments, that I would personally like to see everything happen overnight. That's who I am. I don't mind your energy, Mayor, that you want it yesterday. I am that kind of person too. But I'm smart enough to know that it's unrealistic and irresponsible for us to expect that to happen. Incremental, sustainable improvements are far greater likelihood to have continued success than a rush pie-in-the-sky promises that may not be able to be met and put us in financial jeopardy. You may have the authority under her contract to terminate her without cause, with or without cause, but the bigger question is that the right decision or in the best interest for the city and the residents of San Bernardino, and I say a resounding no, it is not in our best interest. Our employees need the continuity. My experience in serving on 2 commissions for the city, which I consider a privilege, have been as different as night and day. The first commission I served on, there was no orientation really to be able to help us as commissioners really fully understand and do our job. Since city manager has come on board, my experience on the second commission and the things implemented to help the commissioners be trained and understand their role has been beneficial. Thank you.
Kerry Davis. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. On December 19th, 2018, I believe Councilmember Ibarra requested a special closed session meeting to discuss the city manager's contract. Apparently, the nature of the request generated the need to agendize the second closed session item, significant exposure to litigation. Councilmember Ibarra was in the office less than 24 hours and potentially subjecting the city to litigation with her request to hold a closed session to review the city manager's contract. On August 2nd, 2019, the city voted 8-0 to enter into an agreement with the city manager, Andrea Miller. 1 year later, a very favorable performance evaluation was conducted. Over 2,500 new businesses have opened. 2,700 building permits have been issued with a value of nearly $237 million. Public Works has removed 1.7 million square feet of graffiti, repaired more than 1,500 potholes, cleared 40 curb miles of weeds and grass. Customer relationship management system has processed over 28,000 requests. We've hired an additional 33 police officers. These are only a few highlights of her accomplishments. To consider removal of the city manager as one of the first actions of the new mayor and council is reckless, dangerous, and potentially very costly to the citizens of San Bernardino and the businesses. It not only subjects the city to unnecessary financial burdens, but has the potential to damage and thwart the city's ability to attract new businesses, residents, and employees. Ordinance number 1438, adopted by the City Council on April 17, 2017, established the Code of Conduct for the Mayor and City Council. Section 1, Chapter 2.58.050, Paragraph N. The Mayor, City Council, City Manager, and staff will not blindside each other in public. Paragraph C. states in part the mayor and city council shall refrain from making comments not germane to the business of the body. I submit the more appropriate issue that should be discussed is the conduct of the new mayor and city council members. Violations of code sections 2.58050C and N places the city at risk for legal liability. It appears obvious to me that City Council member Ibarra was likely not acting alone on the request, and the request was potentially pre-orchestrated and may be a Brown Act violation. I recommend you discontinue pursuing removal of the city manager, which may place the city at risk of unnecessary legal expense.
Phil Savage. Mr. Savage, you're up. Welcome.
Good morning, Mayor and council people. I know many or most of you. However, some of you don't know me. As I say, I am Phil Savage. I've been a lifetime resident of San Bernardino, and like Mr. Charette, our families have been here for multiple generations. More recently, I have, as I say, we raised our children here. We raised our. I went through school here. My wife's been on the school board here for years. My most recent involvement, so far as the city was concerned, after I retired from my practice of law with Gresham Savage, I was privileged and honored to serve as a member of the Charter Review Committee, and was honored to be elected by them as its chair. I really appreciate seeing the new members of the council, because I know, and the new mayor is in that position. I know all of you, like me, love our city and care about it a lot. This is why we're here, and I honestly and sincerely thank all of you for being involved in public service. Something I haven't done, but something that I admire. Even if people don't, if I don't agree with what their positions are, I appreciate your service. Clearly, the bankruptcy and insolvency of San Bernardino is one of our saddest points in our history. Fortunately, having adopted the new city charter, we have a much better device to deal with and get us moving on into the future. And it's been an essential part of the getting out of our bankruptcy to have our good city manager who's worked us through getting into the new council manager form of government. This council manager form of government gives you the abilities. You're not tied and locked into what our old convoluted charter was, but with a new modern system where you can make this, help the city adapt to its changing circumstances as we move into the future. And I'm sure you're going to be able to live up to that opportunity. City Manager Miller has been an essential part in helping us move from our old system of a strong mayor form of government to our present council manager form of government. To have at this time of much change in the administration, to have the continuity of a city manager who has been outstanding in the services she's provided for the city is, I believe, absolutely essential. Her expertise, her experience, and the continuity and running of the city is most important. I'm really strongly urged that we move ahead with her as the city manager, and I wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Janetta Davis.
Good morning. I am here to speak about the two issues that are scheduled for closed session today. Under Mayor Davis's leadership the past 5 years, the city has made tremendous progress, and it has been much more stable politically and financially. We have been able to hire good leadership and attract businesses because of that. Now, at the first council meeting, after John Valdivia, Teddy Sanchez, and Sandra Ibarra have been sworn in, it is all at risk. Teddy Sanchez said they were voted in to make a change. That may be true, but I am sure the voters did not expect a change to take us backwards. They would obviously assume that you would make smart changes to continue to improve our city, not destroy it in 48 hours. The $39 million that the former mayor and city council members worked so hard to save is to be used for rising pension costs and to sustain us during difficult times. Your actions under the leadership of John Valdivia is putting our reserve funds in great jeopardy and creating the risk of returning to bankruptcy. As quoted in the Sun newspaper recently, Mayor-elect Valdivia met with a pot shop operator just before a robbery and shooting occurred there on November 14th. The paper also reported that Valdivia refused to discuss why he was associating with a criminal defendant who has been charged with 8 felonies and who continued operating illegal dispensaries after repeated police raids and arrests. What is the true motive to remove the city manager? Please reconsider the termination of the city manager and save our city from significant damage. Thank you.
Bob Jenkins.
I'll be brief. I've been involved in this type of a situation before once in my career, and I see what I see I don't like at all. I see people get into power and think that they have all kinds of authority to do things that they should not be doing and think that they're not accountable. Well, you are certainly accountable. This city knows how to clean up itself when the time comes. It's not difficult, well, it's not impossible, let me just say, to have another recall if that's what it takes to keep the city on the right track. There are plenty of people in this city that want to see things run right. They live here, they work here, and they expect change. You can bet they expect change. They don't expect change to be putting this car in reverse and going back the other way. I think you should remember the duty that you are sworn to do, the task which you're given, and you're expected to do it. And if not, there's enough people in this city that will make a change. You did not get voted on a mandate by any means. There's a lot of people that did not vote for you. There's a lot of people that did not vote, unfortunately, that really should have. So the onus is on you to do the right thing.
Barbara Babcock. Welcome, Barbara.
Welcome, Mr. Mayor. I think we're asking the wrong question. The question is not, are you going to vote to keep Andrea Travis Miller? The question is, do we deserve her? Held to the no, that's not the way she's been treated. I like that woman. I worked with her 7 years ago. I didn't even know who she was because I worked with her boss. But somebody asked me once he left, how do you get along with Andrea? I go, I respect her a great deal. She taught me a lot. She would be smart to pull up her boots. You're grinning again, Mr. Valdivia. So typical. Do we deserve her? She does not deserve to be treated like this. She is a top-notch professional who has not been fired from every job that people bring up. I'm disgusted. And Sandra, I am disappointed in you. We were on the Fine Arts Commission together for a while. But we had a falling out before that, and you blocked me on Facebook because I had turned someone in to the Public Integrity Unit, and you demanded to know who that was. And I said, it's none of your business. And you said, yes, it is. So I went to Robert Porter, hey, Robert, and I said, you know that I have been working with the Public Integrity Unit. He goes, oh, yes, Ms. B. And I said, here's my emails. Actually, it was text messages. And he goes, so we went out back and I asked you, Sandra, I said, do you trust Robert? You said, absolutely. I said, Robert, have I been working with the PIU? He goes, oh yeah, Miss B's been going way back with them. You blocked me. And I was so disappointed in you Wednesday night. It is obvious that it was not something you thought up yourself. The Police Officers Association, you've been getting texts and phone calls from them. They are not happy with you. And you know it, because I talked to them. They are my friends. This city could go to hell in a handbasket. We are headed for bankruptcy if we do the wrong thing. And I'll be damned if I stand by and watch it.
Gary Jenkins. Welcome.
Welcome. Welcome to being new members of the council and the mayor. Welcome not even 48 hours in. 48 hours in after being sworn in the council are meeting to fire a wonderful, hardworking woman who has worked under difficult circumstances to implement a new way of doing business in San Bernardino. That is what you people ran on. You wanted a new way of doing things. This smells of the old way. She has a 5-year contract. She has come here, she has worked very hard. She has had to sort of teach the city how to do their new charter. It wasn't easy. It was difficult to learn the new way to funnel things in and the new way to process things so that they weren't subjected to council members and department heads weren't subjected to council members running in and doing the things that they wanted. You know, the Vermont Community Center is a prime example of that. That's being torn down. It was a huge waste of money. That was the results of the old charter and the old way of doing business. Mayor Davis came in. He promised to clean it up. He has cleaned it up. But the first thing you start off when you clean up a city or when you clean up a house, when you rehab a house, you don't start with the paint. You start with the foundation. He has established the foundation. He has led this city, and the charter committee led this city to a new, updated, state-of-the-art charter. This is how a city of our size should be run. We searched and we hired Miss Miller, and she's been here a little over a year, and she's worked very hard under very difficult circumstances to get everyone to move along, to come into the 21st century of how a city should be doing business. And now, 48 hours in, new council members are wanting to cut her off at the knees. Prior to Mayor Davis's tenure here, the city council, not the city council, but the city employees used to walk around in fear. The culture at the city was horrible. They were afraid if they crossed the wrong person that their job could be in jeopardy, that they could be made miserable, so miserable that they would leave on their own accord as opposed to being fired. And this is what you have brought back in. 48 hours after being elected, you have brought this same culture back. She has been here. She has done a very good job. We have set the city on the right direction. You want to go ahead and make changes? You don't think things were fast enough? Fine, but make them in the right direction. These backyard deals and back deals that people are making and these ideas that are coming from, be careful who you align yourself with. Because I see two people over here that are brand new to this that could be quite an asset to this city. And I worry that you're getting roped into something you don't quite understand. And I just ask of you to let this woman continue the next 4 years to do what she was brought here to do. Because people invest in this city when it was stabilized. You are setting forth 48 hours in to unstabilize it, and businesses are going to run.
Thank you. Jim Smith. Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor and elected city council people, congratulations on your election. This is a new day in San Bernardino. Like Mr. Charette and Mr. Savage, I'm a lifetime resident of the city of San Bernardino. I moved here in 1944 and have seen many, many administrations come and go. One of the most difficult time, although he was a strong leader under the old charter, was Mayor Holcomb. I think we've all witnessed some of the city council people at that time going back and forth and back and forth. What we need to do is to put the city of San Bernardino first. If we can do that, then I'm sure we can move forward. So that's the important thing. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Ms. Miller. I think the City Council, from unanimous vote, 8-0, put her in that position a year ago for the 5-year contract to add more stability to the city of San Bernardino. So why do we want to change that? I mean, you haven't made that decision to do that, but please have an open mind. She just completed the performance evaluation, which was very positive. It's a new day in the city of San Bernardino, and I agree with the former speaker. We have 2 new council people that are young. You're our future in the city of San Bernardino, along with our mayor. And it's an opportunity to move the city forward. I'm concerned about the future of San Bernardino right now with this quick action, okay? I think we need to take a breath, move back, and not come up with a large decision on the structure of our city right now. Remember one thing, the citizens of San Bernardino voted for a new city charter, okay? That's an important decision that they made. That can't be changed by the council people here. That can only be changed from the citizens of San Bernardino. But with the new charter, we've been able to give a very qualified person, Ms. Miller, to lead our city. I read many posts, many articles about how well she is doing. I think we need to continue her in this position. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Robert Porter. Mr. Porter, welcome.
Mayor, council, good people. It's nice to see some of you speaking for the first time in a long time or ever, but kind of cool. I love to see the public here, I really do. I'm sorry to get away from that, but I'd just like to mention my first interaction with Mr. Mark Scott, our previous city manager. So like the first time we met was out in front of City Hall, and I was trying to get the Veterans Monument re-engraved, at least with something below it, until we got a permanent granite plaque put on there, which still hasn't happened. But I got it engraved, and we worked together, and it turned out cool. You know, it's still engraved, you know, until we get the plaque. If someone steals that plaque, it's engraved under it, you know, forever. We'll know where that Vietnam veterans rock's from. And then he had to go. He retired and then, you know, took another job. And I wanted to work the same way with Miss Miller. I really did. But my first interaction, she didn't really know how to deal with me because I do come out here and speak the truth. I speak what's from my heart. And that's why it's easy for me to come up here and do this, because I speak what I know. And she didn't really want to deal with me, so she walked around me in the meeting here and went and talked to somebody else, which is fine. She doesn't have any obligation to me. She has the obligation to you all. Then I asked her, even though state law doesn't require you to live in the city, I asked her personally, please, out of the kindness of your heart, if you really love San Bernardino, why don't you move to our city? Why don't you bring that huge paycheck to our city and spend it here? Why don't you raise your family here? And I was always treated with, that's against state law. It's against state law. But that's not what I meant. I meant I wanted you to come live with us. Join us as a community. And it didn't happen. So now the question comes up of, well, if she doesn't get what she wants, there could be lawsuits and this and that. Well, what? If you really loved our city, you would never sue us. You would never sue our people. Why would you do that? That's not right. That just makes me even more upset. If you can't really work with Mr. Valdivia, Mayor Valdivia, if you can't work with Sandra Ibarra, Councilwoman Ibarra now, right? Maybe you should resign. for the good of San Bernardino. If it really meant that much to you and you can't work with them, then resign and don't sue us. But if you can work with them, give in a little bit, work out your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Mike Hartley. Mr. Hartley, welcome.
Mike Hartley. I live at 3066 Parkside Drive in San Bernardino. I have not been as long a resident as Charette. I've only been here since 1958, but I have seen it going from good to bad. I'm in the Neenah district, and that's what I pay attention to. I would get overwhelmed if I was to look at all of San Bernardino. If I was told to fix all of San Bernardino, I would leave. I wouldn't be able to do it. And I've been in management all my life. With Miss Miller, she has that. She has that responsibility to try to fix that. All I can tell you is I'm very uneducated as to what's going on here, because I was just thrown this out last night to hear all this. I was surprised. I can only tell you that with me trying to clean up just Neenah, she has helped me tremendously, and her team has helped me tremendously. I don't know anything about what's happening. I'm sure somebody could educate me. I always thought that in order to let somebody go, you had to have reason. Obviously, I don't know what that reason is in this particular case, so I am not educated. But I will leave it like this. She has helped me. As far as I'm concerned, if she's helped me, she's helped part of San Bernardino, and that is the Neenah area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Prince, Tim, welcome.
Good morning, Mayor Valdivia. Good morning, members of the council, city staff, members of the public. My name is Tim Prince. I'm also a lifelong resident of this great city. Not as great as it used to be under our prior city charter, but change is often a good thing. I generally want to congratulate the newly elected officials who were, like me, frustrated with a downward spiral in the city and had the courage to offer themselves for public service. A theme of many of the remarks this morning has been the value of public service. What does public service mean? Is it a title we use to try to wear good deeds on our sleeve? No. What it means is putting the people first, not politics, not alliances, the people. And when the people speak, it means listening to them. It means no excuses. It means no trying to justify what you did in the past. It means, how can we serve the people? The people have spoken clearly. They didn't just replace the mayor who wouldn't concede when it was obvious he had lost, who kept hanging in there until he was a full 5% behind, which is a healthy margin for an incumbent to get defeated. It's not close. So, did we respect that message? No. We hung on to the last second. We occupied our office as long as we could. We gave our inappropriate denominational prayer at the induction ceremonies. And then we gave a speech justifying how we had somehow succeeded when the voters clearly told us they want to change. Sandra, you are a fresh face on this council. You stood up, not just somebody that wanted to be somebody that earned a position, somebody that volunteered, somebody that did good deeds before sitting here, somebody that was involved in city issues and showed courage. That's why the voters chose you. Now, I think while we do need to pay attention to the clear mandate, that doesn't mean that we act hastily. That doesn't mean that we ever fail to put the city's interests first. Andrea Miller has failed this city. Her record is abysmal. As a person that lives in this city when most attorneys move somewhere else, I can tell you the quality of life is worse than when she started. There's no questioning that. However, make sure her firing is documented as a failure to perform. That will put you in the position, if she's not reasonable and she doesn't take a modest severance, you can then negotiate with her because she doesn't want to ruin her professional career. We don't want to ruin her professional career. We just want to respect the voters. Thank you. Good luck with your service.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we will recess into.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Through the chair. Yeah. I have a letter that I received. It's a little unclear who it was sent to. I'll make sure that a copy is printed out and gotten to it. I'll read it now. It's from a constituent in the 4th Ward. If you'll bear with me for just one moment while I pull it up. I'm having a little problem there. It was sent, as I can tell, it was sent to the attorney, and I'm not sure if that meant the attorney's office. It was sent to myself. It was sent to Andrea Miller. And then it says mayor's events. I'm not sure what that means. And it says council. So I'm assuming that the city council office also received it. It happens to come from a constituent in the 4th Ward named, Corina Cornejo. And she writes the following. Good morning. I am a resident of the city of San Bernardino's 4th Ward. I am unable to attend tomorrow's, meaning today's, meeting and would like to have my concerns known. I was unable to find an email addresses for all of the council members. Please pass this email along to them. It is my hope that the review of Ms. Miller's contract is not a ploy by Mr. Valdivia to deflect attention from his actions, particularly those described in an article published on December 18th. The same attention needs to be given to the actions described in the article. The mayor stated that he will lead with transparency and integrity. This meeting does not seem to be in line with those ideals. The city is still in a precarious financial situation and cannot afford to lose good, hard-working people. Mr. Valdivia stated that in his inaugural speech that he wants, quote, lay down the swords, unquote, and get to work. He cannot do that while striking away at the city manager. A common phrase at the swearing-in ceremony was that voters had spoken and that we want change. The truth of that statement should resonate with all the city's elected officials. The new city charter is part of that change that we, the voters, approved. We ask that all of you respect it and work within its parameters. I would ask all council members to remember that the best work is done openly, honestly, and selflessly. There is no room in our city for hidden agendas and backroom deals. Let us please not get distracted by personal differences, but rather work towards the betterment of the city. Again, that was from Corina Cornejo. I don't have her address, but I'll make sure that this is put into the record.
Thank you, Mr. Charette. Rachel Clark, welcome.
I can't even remember when was the last time I was here before the mayor and council, but as several of you, I believe, know, I'm a native and lifelong resident of the city of San Bernardino and had the honor of working for the city under Mayor Ballard, under Mayor Holcomb, under Mayor Wilcox, and didn't have the pleasure of working under Mayor Davis. However, I know that, and I also had the privilege and honor of working when Andrea was here as the assistant city manager several years ago. I retired 6 years ago, Gigi, as a city clerk, elected city clerk. I was city clerk for over 20 years. And believe me, I've lived through the ups and downs of city government. And I always kept saying, tomorrow is going to be a better day. Tomorrow is going to be a new day. We have a tremendous. We had, and I'm sure we still do, have a tremendous core of city employees who are dedicated. And they want the best for the city. They wanted stability. You know, through this horrible process of bankruptcy, there was a lot of uncertainty. You know, am I going to have a job? And yes, people did lose jobs. But thank God for the new charter and the challenges that came with that of implementing a new charter, replacing a charter that was years and years old, archaic, and confusing. And as Mr. Savage well knows, that team that reconstructed our charter, brought a new charter, brought new life into the city. But it was up to the new team that came in to implement that new charter. And under the direction of Mayor Davis, under the direction of our current city manager, Andrea Miller, significant progress has been made. We are now enjoying, or have been enjoying for the last 4 years, some sense of normalcy, stability, security. And then for all of a sudden, for a new administration to come in and disrupt what finally we were beginning to achieve does not make sense. It hurts me. It really hurts me. Because I see, as I drive throughout the city, progress being made. Slowly but surely, it's coming about. People were starting to feel good. Things are happening. New construction's coming in, new buildings, new businesses. And under Andrea's leadership, there's been a lot of progress, and under Mayor Davis's leadership. So I just ask the incoming officers to really take a look back at what's happened in the past. If you really love our city, if you really care about our employees, keep them in mind when you make your decision tonight. Thank you. And thank you, Andrea.
Thank you. At this time, we will recess in a closed session. Mr.
Honourable Mayor, if I may, before we head into closed
Sure.
session, there have been a number of comments during the public comment session relating to the possible termination of Ms. Miller. I want to be very clear with the public and also with the council that action is not agendized for this morning's meeting. There is a special meeting this evening at 6 p.m. which includes that action, but that will not be a topic of conversation in closed session this morning. Thank you, Mayor.
Very well. At this time, the council will recess in a closed session.